We have another area to watch out here in the Atlantic per the National Hurricane Center for the risk of tropical development over the next several days. We'll speak on that along with another powerful cold front that will drop down to the lower 48, bringing a reinforcing shot of cold air as we get a few days into September. We'll speak on all that along with today's forecast, and then we'll end the video with a Bible devotion if you want to join us for that. So my name's Mitch. Hope you guys are doing well out there this morning and having a wonderful week out there so far. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And of course, if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So let's make sure this is going to work for us. And it is. So we're good to go. As always, we'll start this video off by looking at a wide view of the Atlantic. Is there anything out there worth talking heavily on right now? No, there isn't. We have the leftovers of Fernand. Guys, you guys should have corrected me in the comments. I've been calling this Fernand the entire time for the last several days. It's actually pronounced Fernand, not Fernand, Fernand. So whatever it may be, it is definitely falling apart. It's way out here in the North Atlantic over some pretty chilly waters. So this is pretty much post-tropical. And you can see just the leftover spin of it right here. But we will not mention this anymore. In fact, by the time we do a video tomorrow morning, it probably won't even be on the National Hurricane Center outlook anymore. So is there anything else worth really talking about? Well, I will mention a lot of convection down here in what we call the MDR, main development region, the tropical Atlantic. And this is indicated by these colors you see on your screen, this circled area, you know, the pop-ups and the greens, the yellows, the orange, the reds, and the blacks, and the whites in between. And those colors, this indicates colder cloud tops, which means we have taller updrafts. The taller up these storms are, the colder it gets in the atmosphere, and this is reflected by the colors you see on your screen. But believe it or not, this is not really an area we are watching at all. We are watching some energy that's going to emerge off Africa, and honestly, it's not really on our screen yet, but we will watch over the next several days, really as we get into our weekend, as this emerges over the Atlantic, and see if it has a chance to become a tropical system. Right now, the National Hurricane Center has dubbed an area of interest out here, and we'll show you that here in a quick second. But is there anything else out there? No, there is not. So we're going to move past this. Always like to look at current conditions first. And there's Fernand. Almost said it again, not Fernand. Fernand, 45 mile per hour post-tropical cyclone. And yeah, not going to bother any of us. So we will say goodbye to that. And this is the new area. And I'm going to be completely real with you guys. I'm kind of surprised the National Hurricane Center has highlighted this, but saying, hey, a tropical wave is forecast to emerge off the west coast of Africa by this weekend. And environmental conditions appear favorable for slow development of this system as it moves westward. So the wave has not entered the Atlantic yet, still over Africa, but once it does, has a 20% chance to develop in this yellow area between now and the next 7 days. And I'm going to talk to you about why I'm a little surprised they dubbed this an area of interest, but once again, you know, they are the experts. I don't work at the National Hurricane Center site, so it's not a shot at them, and I'm going to talk about why. You know, maybe I wouldn't have dropped it yet. But anyways, moving past this, let's take a look at those this model guidance that reflects why I'm a little hesitant on this. So it's the latest Euro. We're going to start off for tomorrow afternoon, August the 29th, as we're getting into this weekend. I don't think the wave of interest has really emerged into Africa yet. And honestly, it's going to be tough to really show you what wave they're talking about because it really doesn't reflect on the Euro model. Now I could switch this to the low level energy, the 850 millibar Vort map here, and it probably would show something a little bit better. But the latest Euro gets wave activity south of the islands here, way down here, low in latitude. But it really never gets this going, and we're getting into our Labor Day. We're getting into next Tuesday, the 2nd, next Wednesday, next Thursday, the 4th. And I mean, we're about a week out from right now, and we're not really seeing anything getting together. We're not even seeing an L popping up on our screen here. Doesn't always tell us the story, but it tells us a lot. But anyways, we get into next weekend. I do see a wave right here, whether that is the wave they're talking about or not. I don't think that's very important right now. But there is a wave right here that tries to get going. And it would make sense that this energy will struggle out in this area, in the eastern MDR, main development region, because a rising air phase, a more favorable phase for convective activity, shower and storm activity, will actually be moving in. I'm going to draw on this a little bit from this direction, which will be moving into these waves moving in this direction. So they'll kind of run into each other. But I don't think that the background becomes favorable for a lot of tropical activity until we get about a week to 10 days into September. But we're getting just about to that point here. This is the morning of September 6th. Still pretty far out, 220 days out. Not 220 days, 228 hours out. I apologize. And we get about 10 days out. And the Euro keeps liking the idea of basically a strong tropical system coming right off the coastline of Africa and just strengthening right off the dot. And I'm not sure if this is the way it's going to happen. Sometime model guidance does this, but it likes a tropical storm coming up right off Africa, affecting the islands here, and then it gets so strong so fast. And I wouldn't say so strong, but it's pretty strong for way out here in the Eastern Atlantic. This thing begins to gain latitude already way out here. We still got some sort of wave right here. And at this point, folks, we're all the way into Tuesday morning, September the 9th. So this is getting far out. So I'm not seeing anything that's worth worrying about based off this. And really, I'm going to run through all model guidance. I'm going to show you I'm not really seeing anything at all to worry about, at least in the, honestly, in the next 7 to 10 days as far as a threat. I could see us tracking something sometime in about 10 days. But as far as something making a landfall in the next 10 days, I really don't think so. But who knows? I could always eat my words there. But what about the Euro AI model? Shows a wave right here. And this could be the wave that the National Hurricane Center is talking about. Wouldn't be surprised. Tropical wave here. I think the Euro AI model is probably doing the best picking up on that wave of interest. Gains some latitude pretty fast. And you got a blocking high that kind of keeps it down. But it never really develops. At this point, we're all the way 10 days out. Another wave emerges. This supports what the Euro's thinking. But in general, there's just nothing out there we're speaking heavily on, honestly. Now, what about the latest GFS? We got about 10 days worth. Now, the GFS is now showing that wave, kind of like what the Euro AI model is showing. And like I said, I'm pretty positive this is the wave that the National Hurricane Center thinks has a shot to develop. It would make sense. It's in this yellow area that they dubbed an area of interest. And, it just doesn't really do anything. There's still energy here, but it never really gets going. And it makes sense because I just think we're in a lull right now. I think there's a lot of sinking air, and I do think things are going to dramatically flip, probably like a light switch as we get closer to September 10th. That's kind of my day I'm shooting for right now. You can bookmark that if y'all want. But anyways, we look at the Euro ensemble. This is between now and the next 10 days. Remember, this makes up about 51 members. And it does pick up on that wave that the National Hurricane Center is speaking on, but there's not many members. And even the members that do develop are pretty weak, well over 1,000 millibars. Now, it is showing another wave about to come off Africa at day 10. But, guys, there really ain't a whole lot to speak on with this, honestly. And if you do look a little bit closer to home, like the Caribbean, the Gulf, I would continue to watch for homegrown activity. We're just going to have this frontal boundary kind of stalled out, reinforcing itself. Another boundary could drop down. This could hang out over the open waters of the northern Gulf off the coast of the southeast. Enough lift could get a lot of shower and storm action going, and all of a sudden hangs out over the water too long, and it gains tropical characteristics, and we have a tropical system developing off the coastline. So what you're looking at here is the 850 millibar energy in the atmosphere, so about a mile up above land or the surface of the ocean, depending on where it is. And what you look for here is little spins. So here's a broad spin over Florida and off the coast of the southeast, even over the open waters of like the northeast Gulf. And this is about, getting into Labor Day. And there's a broad spin here, and this tries to develop. This might be sort of that hybrid low we've been speaking a little bit on, which, by the way, has really trended offshore now. That's why I don't even really have a segment for it this morning. But we get about to day 10. Anything else? Here's a little broad, not well put together spin here. And here comes a tropical wave out here. But I mean, none of this is well put together. What about the GFS? What does it show? GFS, as we're moving into Labor Day, a lot of energy. You can see this yellows and the oranges. This is energy in the low levels of the atmosphere. But does anything spin up here? Not really. Not really, guys. So, honestly, I mean, there continues just to not be a whole lot to speak on. What I will tell you is the global tropics hazard outlook does kind of back up what the National Hurricane Center thinks about, you know, the risk of a tropical wave getting going. But, you know, this is between the 3rd and the 9th. There is a 20% chance in this red and white striped area for tropical development. But then we get into the September 10th through the 16th frame. Not only do you have a large 20% risk of tropical development in this area and over areas of the Western Atlantic, you also have more so a solid red area. That means there's a 40% chance of tropical development. I'm telling you, September 10th onward, I think it's game on again with the tropics. I think it's inevitable. I do. So let's enjoy the break. For anybody wondering, hey Mitch, what about vacation between now and about early September? I think you're good as far as going to the coastline, going to the Caribbean. I really think you're fine. It's once you get past the 10th, that's when you just need to be a little hesitant. Of course, if you've been planning something for a long time, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But anyways, talking about this cool down, I'm just going to look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, okay? This runs from the 2nd through the 6th. It's going to be cooler than average for a good chunk of the central and eastern U.S. up into this point. So this is starting, the day after Labor Day. If you live in these blue-colored states or blue areas, it's where you have a chance of below average temperatures. The bluer it is, the higher that percent chance at below average temperatures. And what you're noticing is this is centered over the middle of the country now, and I'm going to talk about why here in a second. But listen, I know I keep getting sidetracked by this because of my own interest, but I cannot tell you how I keep wanting to use the word rare, but I'm going to use it because I want to. It is very rare, in my opinion, to get this kind of cool down for this long period of time. And if people wondering, well, it's not rare. I mean, it's not record breaking. It absolutely is. We shattered records yesterday morning. We're probably shattering records this morning. I mean, it got down into the 40s in eastern Tennessee yesterday. So, I mean, I think Atlanta broke an all-time low temperature for August yesterday morning for 55 degrees. So, not only is this record-breaking, but the longevity to it is very, very impressive, guys. So, now that I got that out of the way, what's driving this pattern? Well, in the short to medium term, you know, the air will modify a little bit, but you see this blue area, this is lower pressure. You know, the yellows, the reds, the oranges, this is higher pressure or a ridge. The lower pressure can mean a trough, an area of low pressure. So a dip in the jet. So we're starting off Labor Day, right? You're seeing a lot of blue down here. To me, this is going to keep kind of an unsettled weather pattern down here, and it's also going to keep some cooler temperatures because of an unsettled weather pattern. For example, you go outside on the day, whether it's the summer, whether it's the winter, whether it's whatever season it is, and it's cloudy. It could be a little drizzly. It could be kind of drizzling. It could be light rain, raining. You know that your temperatures are going to be lower for that day. That's kind of what's going to drive the pattern kind of in a way between the weekend and the early next week for the South and Eastern U.S. It's not necessarily going to feel like fall for areas for the South, but it'll be cooler because of an unsettled pattern. I think there'll be just enough dry air around to kind of keep, I mean, for example, I think Saturday is going to be a really cool day across areas of South. A really rainy day, which is unfortunate, but it's going to feel like fall. But anyway, so we still got some unsettled weather. This is going to keep cooler than average temperatures across the eastern U.S., the southeast, the south, things like that. But let's move past this. What's interesting to me is we get something that's called a cross-polar flow. So we get a true connection from the Arctic. So we go about a week from right now, right? You get your classic looking ridge in the west, spiking not only over the western U.S. and western Canada, but all the way up to Alaska. We call that a negative EPO when you have ridging over Alaska, and a positive PNA when you have ridging over the west. This normally will dislodge and make the jet stream buckle down south and dislodge cold air sometimes from the north. And normally that drops down into the central or eastern U.S. depending on the position of this ridge right here. So I think because this is positioned so far to the west, I think that this cold air dump is going to happen more so for the central U.S. and the eastern U.S. So, for people in the middle of the country, like deep in Texas, that kind of missed out on the cooler temperatures, this next air mass could be really for you. But this causes a dip in the jet. This dislodges cold air all the way down into this dip in the jet. And this brings a big cold front down, basically, that'll sweep across the country and bring well below average temperatures. Once again, at least reinforce them. So, a lot of people look at this map and just see pretty blues and are like, well, that's cold air. Well, that's not exactly what this is supposed to be viewed as, but it can be. This is the pattern at 500 millibars and just indicates lower and higher pressure. But, as we start to move into between day 7 and day 10, this trough could position itself further to the east. This could bring this cold front to the east, and it could bring some unsettled weather. It could bring a storm system. But what we are starting to see now is the end of this pattern. It was looking good forever. But now we are starting to see a bit of an end to it, which actually it connects to hurricane season very well. Because if you got these big old troughs digging down into the country, this is going to repel, kind of punt hurricanes away. When we get the ridge that builds back over, it kind of works together with peak hurricane season. This is another reason why I'm worried about mid-September for hurricanes. We lose the trough, we lose these fall temperatures. Not gonna sit here and say we can't get a cool down in this period, but I do think we just get back to average to above average temperatures as far as mid-September conditions. So that's why I'm a little bit worried about mid-September. Let's enjoy the break while we have it. The rest of these days of August we have left, and then the early portion of September, because I do think some changes will occur. But let's focus on what we know. So in the shorter term, starting off Sunday the 31st, the blues and the greens are below average temperatures. The warmer colors you see on your screen above average temperatures, like the oranges, the reds, and this kind of color right here, whatever that is. But you get into Labor Day, below average temperatures dominating the southern tier of the lower 48. You get a brief warming right into here, southern Canada, northern lower 48, ahead of the cold front. And then a cold front will drop down. I'm telling you, I think this has a shot to break some records. And this is getting into next Wednesday. You see the greens and some of the whitish colors embedded in the greens. That's 10, 15, 16, 17 degrees below average temperature-wise. We already still are clinging to below average temperatures across the southeast. And then watch how this shifts south and southeast. And then by the time we're between day 7 and day 10, we'll see how southeast this air mass can penetrate. But man, look at this. This is for about a week from today. If you're saying, hey, it's a little bit too soon for this cold air, you're not going to like this. Because this is a chilly air mass dropping into right smack in the middle of the country midway next week. So, yeah. And a great way to see this, and I'm going to look at the operational run with dew points and temperatures. These are dew points. Best way to measure how humid it is outside. If your dew point's in the 70s, it's very humid. It's tropical. You're going to sweat within 5 to 10 minutes. 60s, you can still feel the humidity outside. A little sticky, but not too bad. Once you get to about 55 degrees is the dew point and lower, you can really walk outside and say, okay, well, I don't really feel any humidity. Now, obviously, when you get lower than that, the drier it gets. So I always like to say, stop trying to figure out how humid it is outside based off the relative humidity percentage. That's not the way you gauge it, guys. Look at dew points. They're on your weather apps too. Look at dew points. So dew points are the best way to figure out where a change in the air mass is. So we start to get into this weekend. First off, we continue to get just another reinforcing trough that kind of digs down to the Northeast this weekend, Ohio Valley. This could get some dry air, kind of reinforce the dry air a little bit further south. I don't know how far south it'll get because we are going to have at the bottom edge of this trough an unsettled weather, rainy pattern, which is going to bump up our dew points, more moist air in the atmosphere, right? But it could keep air temperatures down. It's funny how it works, right? But it makes sense. Then we get into next week. Okay, everybody's air mass begins to modify, right? And then we get this spike in dew points all the way into the 60s, all the way up into Canada. But watch how this dry air, these are not temperatures, this huge cold front drops into the lower 48 and just swooshes out the air mass. That is the cold front that we're seeing on the Euro ensemble. How far southeast and east does it get? Looks like it's just about to rush the southeast, and then it kind of doesn't dig down enough. Now, I do think this will be a quick heating cold front. I just think it's going to be more potent than the one we just got. But, you know, we'll see how long it can linger around. But as far as temperatures, it's actually such a strong cold front that you can see it reflected well on temperatures too. I mean, look at them. This is next Wednesday morning. This is next Thursday morning. Look how chilly those lows are across the middle of the country. And these are highs maybe next Thursday. And then, look, once again, next Friday morning, we got lows diving down to the 50s, pretty far south. These are high temperatures potentially next Friday. And it looks like just another chilly air mass across a good chunk of the country as we're getting into next weekend. Week 2 of college football. So, yeah, we're going to continue to watch this, guys. But as far as today's weather, folks, we got a little bit of a flash flooding threat ongoing across the southern sections of the states here, the southern plains. A lot of rain continues to fall across areas of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Arkansas, starting to get into southwest Missouri now, all the way down into Mississippi. And, you know, nothing crazy ongoing right now, but this could cause some flash flooding concerns. Everybody else, another reinforcing trough dropping down, so this is bringing rain for southern Ontario, a little bit of rain in the lower Michigan, waking up to some wet conditions in Chicago and surrounding areas. But watches, warnings, and advisories. We do have some flash flood warnings ongoing in areas of Arkansas. We have some, some flood warnings for some of these rivers, and we do have flood watches ongoing in the middle of the country in these green counties. Some dense fog up here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and some alerts up there in Washington. Talking about the Storm Prediction Center outlook, we do have a risk of some severe weather across areas of Arkansas, northern Louisiana, kind of the Red River north and south of it, and up against the Front Range in eastern Colorado. The light green, just a general risk of thunderstorms. And then the risk of excessive rainfall, we'll watch eastern Colorado, but we'll also watch this area of the southern plains and up into the Mississippi River area. 15% risk of flash flooding to occur within 25 miles in any given location, so be aware of that. The southeast today, a little bit of storm activity, kind of getting going off the coast of the southeast. Some rain will continue to move into areas of northern Mississippi. I didn't realize we've gotten kind of dry here in my neck of the woods here in Columbia. Haven't gotten a really solid rainfall in a while now that I think about it, but we've gotten a lot of rain this month. A lot of thunderstorm activity across Florida, kind of just dancing around. And we'll continue to get rain that's going to dive down into northern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and we'll wake up tomorrow morning. This is what we're looking at. The Northeast, here comes another kind of reinforcing shot of cool air, but along the front, we're going to have some showers and storms. So this is this evening. Erie, be aware of some heavy rain, maybe even Cleveland up to Akron, Buffalo, Rochester, getting into the Adirondacks, Tug Hill Plateau. A little low will move overhead and just bring some damp conditions. So just be aware of some rain tonight in these areas. The south central U.S., just rain and storms will continue throughout the morning and day. This is around midday today. I don't have the time frame. Let me move this thing out of the way. This is around lunchtime. A lot of heavy rain across northeast Oklahoma, northern Arkansas. And I'll have to get this in motion again. And just a rainy afternoon, evening. This will keep temperatures down in this area. But where it's not raining, it'll probably get pretty hot. But some storms later this evening all the way into northern Louisiana. And then just continues all the way to tomorrow morning. We're probably going to have a big complex of showers and storms surging all the way down to northeast Texas, the northern half of Louisiana, southern Arkansas, etc. Rainfall between now and 7 p.m. tomorrow. Several inches of rain could fall up here in southwest Missouri, southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, few inches across Arkansas, sharp cutoff right here. Look at all this rain even into Mississippi, even western Alabama. But northern Louisiana, a good bit of rain in these areas, guys. So the north central U.S., what we're looking at, some thunderstorms are actually possible in southeast lower Michigan. Watch out in Detroit later this afternoon. Some scattered downpours could develop in central Minnesota. And this eventually could get going, and we could wake up to some heavy rain in areas of northern Wisconsin. A little bit of rain scattered about in South Dakota. Western U.S., once again, we'll have widespread showers and storms developing across Wyoming, Colorado. Watch out for some heavier rain, some severe weather. Some rain sprinkle activity will be possible in Las Vegas today, areas of southern Cal, Arizona. Scattered rains across Montana. This will keep temperatures kind of down. But yeah, temperatures, what we're looking at. See this odd little area right here. This is from rain-cooled air. So enjoy that. But if it's where it's not raining, it'll be pretty hot. Southeast, 80s, 70s, but low humidity. Look at this cool air up here in Canada. And these are temperatures in the central and western U.S. So that's it with the weather. Let's do our Bible devotion. And then we'll wrap this up. I've been making really good timing lately, so that's good. I don't feel like, man, there's been some weeks where I've just had to rush the girls to school right after these videos so fast, and it's been nice just getting a good routine where I don't have to do that. But this morning we're in Matthew chapter 5, verse 11 through 12. So, you are blessed when they insult you and persecute you and falsely say every kind of evil against you because of me. Be glad and rejoice, because your reward is great in heaven. For that is how they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Of course, wrote a couple things here, and I said, embrace whatever comes your way for following Christ. Your reward is not on this world, it is in heaven. Allow that hope of eternal joy of heaven, encourage faith during the struggles on earth. The suffering that Jesus went through should be the ultimate example of the persecution that is expected while being a Christ follower. How you handle this persecution will also be used to plant seeds. So what I mean by that is, a lot of this is always recycled information, but recycled information is good information when we're speaking in Scripture. What I mean by that is, I do believe people are always watching you and how you handle certain things, whether they just kind of hear a few words of how you handle it or see a couple things that you physically do on how you handle something. People are always watching you. If they know that you're a follower of Christ, they know you go to church. They know that you speak a lot about your faith. They want to, and they're kind of maybe on the fence about it. I really think everybody's got something deep down inside of them, longing for something when you're lost. When you're lost, there's something's calling for something, and I really think that's just the fact that people are lost. So I really think people are always watching. So make sure, and I kind of live by that mentality. It's like, how can I handle this difficulty that I'm going through right now? Somebody might be watching me, around the corner, and it's not because you're trying to hype yourself up or anything like that, but how can I handle this the way Jesus would handle it? To set the best example possible. Might not be the perfect example. We're not perfect, but the best example possible. So it's tough to do on the fly too. It is. It's very difficult. So I'm not going to pretend like it's easy. I fail at it every single day, guys. Every single day. But I said, like I said, in my opinion, this is when we were at our weakest. People are always watching how the adversity is being handled by us. So just as followers of Christ, we're gonna, whether it's just the struggles of life or whether it's something extra, we're gonna be challenged. We're gonna be challenged, and I think one of the easiest but hardest ways of how to handle how to handle some of these persecutions is to live your life in the way that Christ would want you to live it. It's one of the easiest but hardest ways to do it. I say it's one of the easiest because, I mean, you get plenty of opportunities throughout every single day to pass those tests, if you will. It's hard because sometimes they happen on the fly. Like for me, example, and I thought about not even bringing this up, but I was on the way back from the gym this morning, and admittedly, I took off from the light a little bit too fast because I was trying to get home. Now, did I, do a burnout or anything? Absolutely not. Probably just took off a little bit too fast, and in the moment, I didn't really think I did. But then I pulled up at another stoplight because, like you always, when you take off fast at the light, somehow the light has a way of humbling you, and I immediately got stopped by another light, and the guy pulled up beside me, and I didn't cut this guy off or anything, but it was a guy that I just kind of took off fast right beside, and he pulled up beside me, and the dude was upset. And honestly, when I took off, I didn't really necessarily get over the speed limit. I just took off really fast. And the guy was like, we pulled up, and this is like 5:30 in the morning too. And I was kind of just zoned out in my thoughts. And the guy pulled up beside me and just started hooping and hollering. I had my window up, and he was just mad, like I tried to run him off the road or something. And man, deep down, I wanted to yell right back at him. And so, it's tough. It's tough. And listen, I'm always going to jump on here, guys, and be vulnerable to you guys and talk about my struggles, because I know we all can relate to these kind of struggles where none of us are perfect. But, I know this is getting way off track. I think I've been talking on this for like way too long, but just lead by example, guys. Lead by example. And I'm speaking heavily to myself right now. Lead by example. Sometimes I have a problem with just letting people irritate me way too much. And that should not be our approach as Christians. We should approach things out of love and wanting to help others. How can I help? It should be out of love, right? So I understand. We're not expected to just, we are, but we're not. I mean, we have a sinful nature about us. It's going to be tough. But it goes back to this. Continue to fight the good fight. Okay? Because some of the persecution that some people are going through in other areas of the country is just not even comparable to what we're going through. So continue to stand up for your beliefs. Do it out of love. Do it out of love too, guys. Don't, when you're in an argument with somebody on social media, and you spit off the whole, well, I'll pray for you. But really, you're not going to pray for them. You're just trying to be sarcastic and spiteful. And, you get what I'm saying. So don't do that. If it's not genuine, if it's not out of love, just go about your day. Rethink on it, figure it out, and do better next time. So I know that was a little off, but, guys, I like to talk to you guys like you're right in front of me. And technically you are. So virtually you are. But anyways, I'm done. Y'all have a wonderful day. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. God bless, and make today awesome.